This whole series started when I got a phone call about a very unusual case. It was basically an autopsy and an investigation into the death of an orangutan at the Milwaukee County Zoo. The orangutan was a very popular attraction. He was named Mahal, and he died under very mysterious circumstances. For a long time, people didn't know exactly what had killed him. Usually, when people or animals die, the pathogens that kill them show up particularly in one area, in one organ, or in one sort of region. In Mahal, what killed him showed up all over the place, and it was a total mystery. And it turned out that what killed him was a new species of tapeworm. And then the question became, how did this species get here in Milwaukee? And that went back to some really, kind of primal issues these days for epidemiologists. How are animals moving? Because when animals move, their parasites move with them. And a lot of the series has revolved around the interactions between humans and animals. Thanks to the funding that we got from the Pulitzer Center for Crisis Reporting, we were able to take this basic idea of what is happening around the world in terms of disease outbreaks and look at three very different situations in Nairobi, Kenya, at Kibale National Park in Uganda, and in Brazil. Nairobi, we were able to go into the slums and actually see how in very, very tight circumstances humans live in extreme poverty, very, very close quarters with animals. At the Dandora dump, we saw humans basically scavenging for food in the same pile of trash that pigs and sheep and marabou storks were also scavenging. You have kind of a great mixing bowl for different pathogens. In Uganda, we saw a very different sort of circumstance in which it's sort of the periphery between the forest areas and areas that are populated. And more, the growth of the human population is pushing us into areas that have formerly been the domain of animals. So we were able to see how some of those connections raise the possibility that new diseases will spring up and will spill over from animals into humans. We went to Brazil because one of the most interesting aspects of infectious disease is the impact that climate change is having now and may have in the future on infectious diseases. This is one of the sort of less studied aspects, but it's very interesting. Brazil had its worst case of yellow fever on record, and it followed very closely the worst droughts that the three primary states had had in 80 years. So there was a very natural way to connect these two issues, climate and infectious disease. And we took the experience in Brazil to sort of trace how this outbreak started from the monkeys that were actually the sentinels for this disease and got sick and died months before the first human deaths. These three experiences, Nairobi, Uganda, and Brazil, allowed us to get a picture of what is driving infectious diseases to increase around the world. What forces that are actually to do with human behavior. For instance, where we settle, where we move, where we go into to log and to hunt, and very basic activities like that. How they bring us into closer and closer contact with animals, and how those contacts with animals can be a trigger for infectious diseases.